Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here, and today we are taking a look at George Perez, Storyteller. Okay, so this is a book from 2006, published by Dynamic Forces, and it's a nice hardcover edition. It's fairly well known. I feel I see it around a lot, and you can still manage to get it, but it's just another, he has so many art books dedicated to him, but this is master comic book artist George Perez, one of my favorite comic book artists. It's a career retrospective, inclusive of all his work. He must be involved somehow because there's a dedication from George in here. And of course, he's mostly to his wife. That's one of his admirable qualities is him and his wife have been together forever and a day. And you can tell he just adores her. I want to say her name is Carol Flynn. Young George Perez in 1975. This is from the Jla Avengers team up that finally, or was it Versus? Nah, they probably did fight, but not throughout the whole thing. An early Perez work here, Metal Men and Chemo. Is it Chemo? If that should it be called Chemo? That's kind of insensitive, I guess. I don't know. But it's funny because you can see, definitely tell this is George's early work, but it's still packing like all the detail and all the, he just has a natural knack for storytelling, I think. And it just always sort of came through. This is, I think, 13. He drew that Cyclops. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, marvelous debut. So Man Wolf was his first work for Marvel, I believe. And just looking at, I mean, look at that. How amazing that is. All that perspective. I think I remember reading this piece specifically. He was criticized for not, I don't know, drawing backgrounds or perspective or something like that. And so he wanted to prove to his editor that he could draw perspective. And that's definitely a mic drop moment, don't you think? He also did the Fantastic Four for a few issues. I think he did an annual, or maybe it was supposed to be an annual, and they split it up into a few issues. And he came back and forth. Here's a cover for his Visionaries book. Get to see it from roughs to colors. I always like to see the breakdown process. You know, it's funny because in retrospect, aside from Kirby, and of course John Byrne, who, you know, really put his stamp on the Fantastic Four, George Perez seems responsible for a lot of iconic looking Fantastic Four art. Logan's Run film adaptation. I never saw Logan's Run. I should definitely put that on my list, eh? There's, there's George Perez being innovative, as usual, working the 200 into the image. The Star is Born. Oh, Teen Titans. That was my introduction to George Perez, or that I, you know, thought enough to look at his name and be like, who is this artist? But I didn't come on board until, I believe it was the episode, the issue where Tara joins the Titans. See just some examples of his master storytelling. Who is Donna Troy, one of the most legendary Teen Titans stories, and such a great cover. He was going for a noir pulp detective look, and he definitely pulled it off because Dick was a detective in that story. The wedding of Donna Troy, 19, to her creepy orange permed professor. If there's a couple of hiccups in history with the Teen Titans, that could possibly be one of them. I don't know. A lot of my friends are fans of Terry. You can rip me a new one in the comments if you want, but I always thought it was a little creepy. Coming into Crisis on Infinite Earths, this cover is amazing and legendary. I just love all the Earths going off into oblivion and all these scattered characters just like so forlorn. And there's Harbinger, the Harbinger of doom, of things to come. Great shot at Dawnstar from the Legion of Superheroes right there. Pariah, George's own original design, along with Harbinger design for this series, co-created with Marv Wolfman. This is epic. I don't know if they'll have the full one, but we'll see. But this is George Perez. This is for like the box set, I think, of Crisis. I think they might have made this a poster, but this is Alex Ross painting over George Perez, and What a frickin' amazing, I mean, look at all the, like, wow. And this is just one piece of art from this man's career. I always remember being blown away. I feel like this is homage, and when it is homaged, it's like half the head. So it's like, if you're gonna homage something, especially like a master like George Perez, don't half-ass it. This is, it's funny because this is very much like X-Men 137, you know, the death of Phoenix. And, but I don't know, it's a fairly iconic image from the history of the DC Universe, OMAC. That's very cool. Carl Kessel inked that, and I found it a nice fit. Thunder Agents. That's when Who's Who, DC's answer to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. I always wonder, I think theirs was after, but they always seem to, like, sort of have competition when it came to those things. Like, even though I think Crisis on Infinite Earths was planned first, Secret Wars was, like, rushed out and beat it as far as being, you know, the first company-wide epic. This is post-Crisis when George revamped Wonder Woman, and I'm glad to see Patty Jenkins pays homage to a lot of George Perez goodness. You can tell she has a respect for his work and his stamp on the book. He did so many great things with her. His take on Cheetah was really cool. Loved Mindy Mayer, Diana's publicist. This was that was about teen angst, obviously terrible, and you know, that really, he stayed on as writer for a long time after he left as penciler, and he's just such a good writer. Perfect fit for Wonder Woman. This was for a brief return to the Teen Titans with Marv Wolfman. He basically did layouts, and of course his layouts are better than anyone's, you know, finished pencils when you're George Perez, and you just, I don't know, like, how many bottles of ink is that? War of the Gods. That could have been so much better than it was. One of those, another Infinity Gauntlet. It seems like some of these epic crossovers were mired in, I don't know, probably editorial interference. That usually seemed to be what the problem was in the day sometimes. This is George's work from Malibu in the Ultraverse. You know, these weren't bad books. I picked them up for George's art, of course, and his art was, as usual, good. Crimson Plague, George's creator-owned book. He said it was really difficult to do that on his own, and hey, if that means going back to the Avengers, we'll take it. I mean, look at, this is when he, you know, was out of, I think, Marvel and DC out of the spotlight for a while, and he made his epic return to superheroes with Kurt Busiek writing. I mean, come on, this is George Perez at his best. This is what he does. Group shots and details and choreographing 29 million characters on one page and having it make sense. I mean, who does this to themselves? This is like one of the most amazing comic book artists of our generation, any generation history. I mean, wow. Living the dream. More Crimson Plague. I have to say, not my favorite, but of course I got it. CrossGen. George went to CrossGen, the sword and sorcery comic book company created by a millionaire in Florida. It was a great model for what they wanted to do, but you know, once again, I got the books for George's art, but I don't think it was enough to sustain the whole company. This is a great shot. The Jla Avengers, the crossover, years in the making. It was threatened in the 80s. 20 pages were drawn. Editorial interference ruined it. And then Vindication, 20 plus years later, George finally gets to draw the Jla Avengers crossover, and it was freaking amazing. There's a lot of promo work or commissions I think he did for that. Batman versus Captain America. I mean, who isn't living for that? This was the cover for, I believe, issue 2 that came out in 4 issues. And I think that George, like, I don't know, cramped his hand or something drawing that and had to take a break. So that shows your dedication. I mean, talk about, you know, risking for your art. Some great layouts here. I think this might have been cross-gen stuff, but just beautiful pencil work. Never phoned it in, George. It's a beautiful shot of, what's her name? Sojourn. Forgive my Midwestern accent. Great Teen Titans shot. Teen Titans will always be my favorite George Perez. I think we're always have the biggest, you know, soft spot in our heart. That's cool seeing him draw Bone, Jeff Smith's Bone. But anyway, don't take that out of context. But, you know, we always like our artists, how we discover them. I always say that about, like, whether it's George Perez or, you know, John Byrne. I mean, you know, Next Men could have been someone's first John Byrne, and, you know, that's why it'll be their favorite. I think that holds true a lot. Like, I love John Byrne's X-Men, but I actually read his Fantastic Four first, so I think this is a great story. Science fiction story written by Bruce Jones. Ride the Blue Bus. Very, very just calm, not superhero. I love to see George do different genres. I think he always said he wanted to do different genres, but that looks cool. Looks like a Betty Page. But anyway, I feel like he did draw different genres. Well, I guess, you know, with comic books, they could do anything. You know, Jurassic Park over Gil Kane. He did a lot of inking for a while, and some really good pairings with some great pencilers. Here's just the end of the book. This is a fun, great, beautiful book full of George Perez art, and you definitely want to add this to your collection if you have a nice bookshelf full of comic book art collections. And it ends with a self-portrait by George Perez. That smiling face, very nice, cool guy. Great comic book creator. Thanks so much for going through this with me, and hit like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll bring you more content later. Thanks, guys.